Richie, you bought this butt roast and I'm supposed to cook it, but then what am I supposed to do with all of the fat that afterwards? Like, there's way too much fat, and what am I supposed to do with that? ¿Qué puedo hacer? No sé cómo cocinar esto, y después qué hago con el resto? I wish I had someone like Terri from the farm that could come and help me learn how to use all this fat after it's done. What am I supposed to do?
Michele, I'm here.
Yes, you're a godsend.
We will fix it.
Thank you.
Michele is not the first customer that's had this issue, just wondering what to do with the extra fat. So we're going to show Michele how to trim the fat, cut it up, and render the lard so that it can be used later. So you're right-handed.
Yes.
Now you do see that layer of fat? Mm-hmm. We want to try to not get the meat because there's still plenty of intramuscular fat to cook the roast. So we just want to take this outside layer off so we can, that's going to make quite a bit of lard right there. So Michele, you want to start with your knife. I hope it's not too frozen still.
Man, this is the best part here for a Puerto Rican dish that we do.
Oh, yeah.
Because this crusts over and it turns
yes.
really crunchy.
Mm-hmm.
Stuck.
Let's see how let me turn it and see how we're doing here. Okay, go up. Yeah, try. Oh.
Sorry.
Here, I'm left-handed. Let me go from this side.
Okay.
All right, and I'm just gonna, you don't have to do it any particular way, just however you can get that fat off. Perfect. Okay, now you want to cut this. The best way to cook it is just in little squares, rectangles about this size. They cook up really nice.
Now you would do this before you actually cook the roast, correct?
You can, or if you wanted to go ahead and get this cooking, you can and come back and deal with this after it's started.
Okay.
That's probably what I would do. I usually set this in a bowl or just leave it sitting there and get this started because this needs to cook several hours.
Mm-hmm. So if I was cooking pork chops, would I be able to do the exact same thing we're doing right now with the pork chops, with all the fat that's on the pork chops?
If they have a good layer of fat, like these, that's a really good layer of fat. And you can just take it, trim that fat off. It's going to make beautiful lard. And there's still enough fat in that pork roast to cook, in the pork chop to cook the pork chop without any extra added fat.
Okay.
And you can just cook it all in the same pot.
And this will just melt down into like a liquid?
It will cook down just like if you were cooking bacon.
Okay.
It's the same grease like you were doing bacon.
Mm-hmm.
And just an interesting note, if you were to cook this in a cast iron pan, it's going to make it a little more brown lard. Nothing wrong with it. Just colors it a little bit.
Okay.
Cooking it in stainless steel makes it that pretty white color.
Okay.
And the darker you get the cracklings is what they're called. These will be cracklings. You can eat those too. The longer you cook them, the more brown you turn them, the darker your lard will be.
Mm-hmm.
But if you want that pretty white lard like this, that's stainless steel, cooked in stainless steel.
Okay. So we have a pretty big sized pot with lots of fat. How much do you think this will cook down and actually make?
I would think we're going to get close to a quart, if not a little more than,
Okay.
maybe. So that'll be really nice. So you can bring that to the stove.
Okay.
Now you can turn those on low. Actually, turn them on high and let's get them getting hot, get the pan hot.
Okay. How long does it normally take for everything to start really cooking down?
You'll have some lard going in about 10 minutes.
Okay.
Once it gets hot, we want to turn it down to a lower temperature, okay, so that we don't have to worry about it burning. So we're starting to see the lard coming out here. We've been going probably 15 or 20 minutes. Beautiful, cooking out, and we're stirring it about every 5 to 10 minutes. And then before long, we can start taking some lard out of there and straining it. So you want a colander that's going to fit pretty good into a bowl, so you don't have lard running over the outside edge. A couple paper towels. And a ladle. And just start scooping it off. You want to start off pouring it slow into the jar so you don't bust the bottom of the jar.
Oh, yes.
Let the glass change temperatures. Look at that, so lovely. Liquid gold.
Very nice.
As many of you probably know, lard at the store has preservatives added, BHT, other things to hold its color, hold its shelf life. But you don't have to do anything to the lard. You can store it in a jar just like that in your pantry. Or you can stick it in the back of the fridge if it's going to take you a really long time to use it. It may get a little old after a while, the smell and the taste, but for the most part it keeps really well. Grandma used to render it, put it in a lard stand, which is a big bucket, and just set it on a shelf somewhere for a year. She'd keep it till the next hog killing the next year and use it all year long. So doesn't need preservatives, as long as it's rendered in a safe manner. Some people put water in there. You don't need to put water. Water will make it mold, obviously. So how you know when it's done is you can see some of them still have some fat that's pretty transparent. That means there's still lard in that. Yeah, so you want to keep cooking until you don't see many of those, and they're going to turn a very nice light shade of brown. You want all of them to be pretty brown.
Yeah, okay.
Like that. Yeah, see, that's got some more fat in it to cook out. We're going to have a little more than a quart, looks like.
Nice. Now, once every little piece has browned, where you can tell it's rendered all of the fat from it, do you just pour the whole thing into the pot? Yeah,
we're going to pour it all in there, and you can see this has changed kind of like from steam to kind of a smoke. That means that some of them are starting to overcook a little bit, and it's just going to flavor the lard a little bit. It's not going to be bad, but we're going to go ahead and turn it off.
Okay.
And you can tell the tail end of the lard is a little browner than the beginning, from the cracklings being a little more brown. A quart plus a half pint. That's pretty good. Off of pork roast and 2 pork chops. That's rendering lard.
Thank you. Very easy. Thank you, very farm mother.
My pleasure, child.
So now that we've rendered all the lard, you mentioned earlier that you can also season your skillet with it. Your cast iron skillet with it. How would you do that? Okay.
So I had this one that I washed earlier. You can see it's dry. So every time we wash a skillet, so if it was still wet, I put it on the stove. I'm going to let it heat up. I like to heat it up even if it is already dry, because the warmth opens the pores. They have like pores. It's not breathable, but you know, and that helps it take the lard. I have used oil, but oil will gum up over time. Lard won't do that. Another magical wonder about lard. So you just want to take it. And just coat it good with that, just a real thin layer. not to where it's going to drip. And then you're ready to store it till next time. That way, if you have a least bit of moisture that gets on any of them and may get between them, it's not going to rust or damage it in any way. You don't typically have to oil the back of them.
Yeah. They
typically keep pretty good, because you're not cooking on the back. If you're cooking in them is what strips the coating off of them.
Okay.
And then every so often, if it's really, really bad, you turn the oven on 350, coat it, put it in there upside down.
Okay.
So you're not cooking a pool of lard in it. It'll kind of drip off what it doesn't need. Leave it in for an hour, and you're reseasoned.
Nice. Okay.
Ready to go.
That's pretty easy.
When you're cooking with cast iron, let it get hot before you put stuff in it too. Will keep it from sticking. Like if you're scrambling eggs or whatever.
I've done that.
Yes. Get really hot before you put your fat or anything in it. Yeah.
I've learned my lesson.
Go ahead, Michelle. Try a bite.
Try a bite?
Pork chop.
Okay.
You can just use that.
Look at that.
Let me take a little bite.
So good and juicy. Very juicy. Delicioso. Well, so we've learned how to render lard from the pork roast as well as pork chops. And it was super easy. If I can do it, you definitely can do it.
Farmer Johnny here, and I approve this pork chop. Good.